The forest has never forgotten what happened that night, and the whispers say the witch's house did not burn to ashes completely. Welcome, dear listeners, to Darkhaven, your refuge for shadows, for secrets, and for the kind of stories that slip into your bones and stay there long after the telling. Tonight, I'll take you back to a tale you thought you knew. But fairy tales do not end where the page closes. Sometimes they bleed on. This is Hansel and Gretel. The witch's curse returns. The story begins years after the gingerbread house had crumbled, after the witch was shoved into the oven and the flames licked her into nothingness. Or so the children believed. Hansel and Gretel had returned to their village scarred but alive. Gretel, especially, had carried an invisible weight on her shoulders, a knowledge that fire does not destroy everything. Evil, when bound to curses older than memory, clings to stone, to soil, to breath. Their village rebuilt itself on uneasy ground. The story of the witch was told and retold until it was no longer horror, but a cautionary tale whispered to children to keep them from straying into the woods. Stay near home, or the witch will smell you, the elders would say with a chuckle, as though the past were a ghost that could not touch them again. But Gretel never laughed. She would wake in the dark, sweating, hearing crackles of phantom flames and the scream of the witch that never truly died. Years passed. Hansel grew restless, left the village, and tried to live a life unchained from childhood horrors. Gretel stayed, tethered by something she could not explain. The woods called to her, not with sweetness this time, but with shadows. It was as if the roots themselves remembered her footprints. And then, the children began to vanish. It started with a boy named Ulrich, barely 8, who was last seen carrying firewood by the tree line. His parents wept and begged for search parties, but the woods gave back nothing. Then a girl, Elsbeth, disappeared while fetching water. No footprints, no cries, just absence, thick and heavy as fog. The villagers said wolves had grown bold, or bandits were lurking nearby. Gretel, though, felt a chill she hadn't felt since the oven door slammed shut all those years ago. One evening, as she walked past the edge of the forest, she saw it. A flicker between the trees, orange, glowing. A fire too steady to be lightning, too unnatural to be a traveler's torch. The shape of a window, burning, hanging in the distance where no house should stand. Her heart seized. She whispered to herself, "No, it can't be." But the woods answered with silence, and silence is often louder than truth. Word spread quickly. Some claimed they saw smoke rising where the witch's house once stood. Others said they smelled sugar in the air, burnt sugar mixed with ash. The village tried to dismiss it as superstition, but the vanishing children left no room for denial. Fear returned, sharp as winter frost. One night, Gretel dreamed of the witch, not burning, not screaming, but standing behind her, whispering in a voice that was both smoke and honey. "You never finished the story, child. You only turned the page." Gretel woke with her fingernails dug into her palms so deep they bled. She decided she could not run from this any longer. The forest had chosen her. The curse had chosen her. And so she lit a lantern and stepped into the woods alone. The deeper she went, the thicker the air became, like syrup in her lungs. The trees seemed older than time, their branches clawing at the sky, their roots writhing like buried bodies. She followed a faint smell, cloying and bitter, gingerbread, caramelized sugar, the sweetness that once lured her and her brother into the witch's jaws. And then she saw it. The house. It stood again. Not whole, not new, but risen from ruin like a corpse dug out of the earth. The candy shutters melted and warped. The frosting roof cracked and blackened, but its shape was unmistakable. It pulsed faintly with orange light, as though a furnace deep inside still breathed. She should have turned away. Every instinct screamed to flee, but Gretel knew, if she ran, the village would wither. More children would vanish. The witch's hunger had returned, and only the girl who once killed her might understand how to end her. Inside, the air was thick with the stench of charred sugar. The oven loomed in the back, its iron mouth closed, its surface blackened but warm. And on the walls, she saw them, scratches, names etched in trembling hands, dozens of them. The names of children the witch had taken. And one new name? Ulrich. A voice drifted from the shadows. You did not kill me, child. Fire is only birth. You gave me rebirth. The witch stepped forward. Not flesh, not spirit, but something between. Her skin was ash, her eyes two burning embers. She moved like smoke, her body flickering in and out of shape. Yet her hunger was palpable, gnawing at the edges of the room. Gretel raised her lantern. You should have stayed dead. The witch laughed, a sound like cracking wood. And you should have stayed away. The walls shivered, sugar dripping like blood from a wound. Gretel's lantern flickered, and for a moment, she thought. She saw the faces of the missing children pressed into the walls, their mouths open in silent cries. The witch extended a hand. Join me. You carry my mark. Why else have you heard my whispers all these years? You were never free of me, Gretel. You are my heir. Gretel's chest tightened. Was it true? Had the fire bound them together? Had the witch carved her soul into Gretel's the moment the oven closed? Her whole life had been haunted. Perhaps the haunting was not from outside, but from within. But she shook her head. I am not yours. She reached for the iron poker near the oven, gripping it until her knuckles whitened. The witch smiled, not with fear but with hunger. Then you will burn again, child. But this time, you'll stay with me. The oven roared to life, flames spilling out, licking the floor, devouring the sugar walls. Gretel stumbled back as the witch surged forward, her body stretching like smoke, wrapping around her. Gretel shoved the poker into the oven's mouth, forcing it open wider, dragging the witch closer to its blaze. The children's names on the walls glowed red, pulsing as if their spirits were awakening. With a scream that split the trees, Gretel hurled the lantern into the furnace. The explosion of fire engulfed the witch, who howled, her body splintering into sparks. The walls crumbled, faces of children fading into smoke, their cries softening into silence. And then, the house collapsed. When dawn broke, villagers found Gretel at the edge of the woods, her clothes singed, her eyes hollow. She said nothing. She only carried in her hand the iron poker, now blackened and cracked. Behind her, no house remained, only ash scattered on the wind. But as the villagers took her back, one man swore he smelled it again. Sweetness, burnt sugar. And deep in the forest, in the silence where no bird sang, something hummed softly as if a lullaby lingered. For evil does not die, it waits. And somewhere, someday, the witch would return again.